Josh Bernstein.
Hey.
Welcome back to the program. This is going to be one of my most important shows that I have ever done.
Again, I'm sure it's going to be one of his most important shows ever. Ever.
Okay? We're not going to really talk about politics so much in this one.
Not about politics so much, just a little bit. Not so much, though.
We're not going to talk about different stories that are happening in the news, although, of course, we know what happened today, which we'll very briefly
We're not talking about different stories in the news, but we're going to talk about one story in the news.
touch on. But what we're going to talk about is data. And data that, honestly, is not very good. And this data
is not very good.
is some data that I have thought about doing for a while now. And I think what happened today was the catalyst to say, finally, do this type of show. And that is what we are going to do right now.
Ooh, boy. Hold on to your hats, guys.
We all know what happened today. President Trump was indicted on more of these BS charges.
BS charges.
And again, as I said earlier today on Jeff Carrera's show on WGSO 990 that I've been doing for the past 7 years, every Thursday morning at 8 a.m., that
8 a.m. his time, which I think he's calling in from Arizona, which is the West Coast, so because it's 10 a.m. in New Orleans, because that's when Jeff's on. So
it was again another part of this witch hunt, but more importantly, they charged Trump with the exact code that they refused to charge Kankles McPantsuit Hillary Clinton with.
Again, we're not being political, but Kankles McPantsuit.
And that is U.S. Code 18793, destruction or removal of classified documents.
But remember, when Hillary was doing her job, the law was different than when Trump was doing his job, because Trump changed the law. He doesn't seem to get that. They don't seem to understand that. Trump made the penalties much harsher.
Trump, as I've said before, and I don't need to keep repeating myself, he could literally wipe his behind and take the toilet paper out of the White House, and by his act alone, it is declassified.
Toilet paper with crap on it is not classified in the first place. I don't know why he's obsessed with this whole wiping his butt with toilet paper. There's no classification there. This is the dumbest argument in the world. I don't know why he's obsessed with Donald Trump's crap on toilet paper. I mean, maybe has a fetish, and I don't kink shame here on Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right. So if that's your fetish, Josh, cool. I mean, you don't need to share it with the world if that's your kink, but you know, that has nothing to do with classification or classified documents or whatever. One has nothing to do with it. Doesn't even have to do with presidential records. But let's go on.
So Jack Off Smith has no case.
Oh, there we go. More maturity from him. You know, not Jack Smith, but Jack Off Smith. You know, because we're funny.
For another day. But it's not about the fact that President Trump was indicted once again on these garbage charges. What I want to talk about is, how did we get there? How
Donald Trump took documents that he wasn't supposed to get, and then when asked to return them, he only returned some of them, and then when subpoenaed by the grand jury to return the rest of them, he still only returned some of them, but signed a document saying they returned the rest of them, and then when they had a search warrant to find the rest of them, they found the rest of them. That's why we're here. I guess Josh Bernstein is probably going to say something differently.
How did we get to the point now where we no longer have a judicial system that works for the people?
We're not quite at the judicial system part yet. We just got to it. The Department of Justice is part of the executive branch. Maybe you need to go retake your civics class, dude. But the Department of Justice is part of the executive branch, not the judicial branch. And the judge that is now overseeing this case was appointed by your dude, Trump. So, I mean, and when she was dealing with some of this part earlier, she was actually making rulings that benefited your dude. So I don't know what you're crying about yet. Let's go on.
And that is what we're going to discuss today.
Oh boy, we're a few minutes in now, and now we're finally actually getting to the meat of the issue.
So the first thing I'm going to say is this. Home of the brave, land of the free, garbage. Not anymore, folks. Hasn't been since...
I thought we were the land of the free and the home of the Whopper. Oh wait, that's Burger King.
At least the 1970s, 1980s. But you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to take what I'm telling you as fact.
I mean, I listen to you so that other people don't have to. I mean, I guess other people are listening to you now, but most people can't listen to you because you've gotten kicked off of every platform that you're on. But, you know, except for me, I guess Rumble.
I will do what I always do. I will show you. I will give you the data to prove it. Okay? So, let's...
I am waiting with anticipation and bated breath.
Look at this image here first and foremost, and all these images today are going to be full screen. In 1975, according...
Okay, I guess let me take down the Venmo image so y'all can see a full copy of what's going on here. So, if you want to Venmo me, now's the time.
To the World Economic Index, the United States was ranked in the top 10 most freest countries in the entire world. As a matter of fact, they were ranked number 10. You now see in the next column, in 1980, 5 years later, they were ranked number 9.
So when Nixon was president, and then when Carter was president, we went up one spot. Okay.
Those were, of course, the start of the Reagan years.
1980 was not the start of the Reagan years, but...
And so on and so forth. Through those Reagan years, by 1985, they got all the way down to number 6.
Technically, that would be up.
And by 1990, after Reagan and his Reagan Revolution changed America for the better, America was ranked...
But that's subjective.
Ranked in the top 5. As a matter of fact, in 1990, it was ranked number 5, and in 1990...
I mean, I have to question, this is from Walter Block, so I have to question the methodology that was used to calculate this, but, you know.
It was ranked number 4, most freest countries in the world. Now, how did that happen? Well, it happened because of limited government. It happened because of cutting spending. It happened because of lowering taxes. And it happened because we had, for the most part...
More actually, it was like deficit spending, I believe, is how that happened. Because we were deficit spending. Because we were burdening the children and the grandchildren of the future with a whole bunch of debt while we were fighting the Cold War. And we were saddling the future with lots and lots of debt while enriching the wealthy. Yeah, that's more likely what happened. But, you know, let's continue.
A very robust freedom of the press. We were allowed to say what we wanted to say. We were allowed to be Americans and not be censored and not have all of these horrible things from the government.
Yes, in 1985, no one would get kicked off of YouTube for saying false things about vaccines.
Government dictated to us and happening to us, right? We'll take a look at this one, okay? By 2002, only 7...
By 2002? 2002 or 22? Because reading is fundamental, I guess.
Years later, after 9/11, of course, and then the ill-advised, ill-named Patriot Act, the Unpatriot Act, which...
Hey! I can agree with Joshua Bernstein on one thing. It was ill-named. We don't like the Patriot Act. So, hey, I can find one common ground with Josh Bernstein. That somehow makes me feel dirtier than I should.
Which allowed the spying on American citizens and, of course, the creation of the fourth largest entity of the United States government, the Department of Homeland Security. Well, America dropped all the way down to number 23. No longer...
Number 23, dropping down in the charts, down 7 from the year 2018 down to 2020. We are now at 23 with the United States. Never gonna give you up. Sorry.
no longer in the top 10. Okay? Now, in this
Jeff Curry in the chat. Trickle down does work in nursing homes. Yes, in multiple ways.
Image here, in only 21 years, under the weaponization of the intel community.
The weaponization of the intel community. Okay.
The rise of big tech censorship, the plandemic, the infiltration.
Ooh, the plandemic. I hope that doesn't get me censored on YouTube because they said that one word. That's false. YouTube censors. I don't agree. It was the pandemic was real. Please don't ban me for criticizing somebody for saying that word. He's a terrible person.
Of the CCP into our government and our media, the corrupt and lawless FBI, Department of Justice, CIA.
I remember when conservatives thought Blue Lives Matter and liked the law enforcement. I guess now they don't. They only like law enforcement. Actually, no. Conservatives only like law enforcement when they go after black people. That's when conservatives like law enforcement. When law enforcement goes after their own, that's when conservatives hate law enforcement.
NSA, and of course, not just the 2020 stolen election, but even the
2020 election was not stolen.
Midterms of 2022, America now ranks a pathetic 39th most free.
Down from 27 to 39, falling down the charts from this crazy whatever it is chart, made up by whatever subjective BS that we want to claim is a valid index.
Country. As a matter of fact, I couldn't fit America on the first page. I had to do a second page because they weren't even on the first page anymore. They're in the right-hand column on the second side. Okay? Now, let's talk about some more stuff here. And I'm going to break down some of the information that you are seeing here. Because, yes, what does the 39th ranked country out of like 170 countries really mean? Well, quite a bit, to be quite honest. And every American should be not only ashamed of themselves for not fighting back harder, but more importantly, you should be outraged that you are no longer the home of the brave and the land of the free. Clearly, that is a mirage and a myth, unfortunately. Now, let's go back to...
It is a mirage and a myth.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald.
This image. Now, what is most troubling in this image, and there's a lot that's troubling in this image, is the index on economic freedom. We are no longer ranked as a, quote, free economic system or a free economic country. And instead, we are now ranked mostly free. And I will say this.
He's only mostly dead. He's not totally dead. He's just mostly dead.
That's probably a gift too. And why do I say that? Well, I guess when your country is $32 trillion in debt, when you add in unfunded liabilities, you're talking about $108 to $109 trillion in unpaid liabilities in debt. And then they just raised the debt ceiling, I don't know, for the 79th time in a row without ever having a plan to ever pay it down. It might actually be a gift rating to be, quote, mostly free. Here's something I personally am very, very aware of, and that is press freedom, or shall we say, lack thereof. Okay? America's First Amendment rights to freedom of speech have been under assault ever since the turn of the century. And of course, with that was the rise of big tech and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and so on and so forth. And so it's no wonder that we no longer have a, quote, good rating, and it's
no wonder that we no longer have a good rating.
Instead, it's just satisfactory. Well,
yeah, like that's the thing. That's a good question, Agolf. Ranked by who? That's the like I don't see who is doing the ranking. It's just a random, like, chart that's posted that looks like it could be on Wikipedia somewhere.
I don't even think it is satisfactory, folks. I personally think it is nowhere near satisfactory. It is definitely problematic, and it's getting worse each and every day. And of course, last but certainly not least, what is the state of our so-called constitutional republic? I don't like using the word democracy. You know the reasons why. In a democracy,
I mean, we are the constitutional republic that elects people in a democratic way, but, you know, let's not nitpick.
you do not have individual rights. It is mob rule. That is why they say democracy rather than constitutional republic. But if you are looking at the terms that they are using in this index, the term full democracy would be the equivalent, I guess you could say, to a constitutional republic. But I think that definition is flawed, just like...
All right, let's take a break from his silliness for a second, and let's look at this. We're going to look at this a second. This is from freedomhouse.org. And this is I can actually look at this webpage, and I don't necessarily know exactly what methodology this website uses to determine how free or not free that these countries are or not. But I found a ranking here of what these countries are and how free they are versus how not free they are and what their scores are. And so you have a mix of political rights and civil liberties and what they are and what they're not. And topping the list is Sweden. And it looks like this list is very blurry, but it has Norway at the top. Here, Norway has a top score of 100, and Sweden is third, and their score is 102. They list Ireland here, so Norway and Sweden are kind of tied, and they say that they're free. I don't know, so that they're kind of mixed here. Finland is free. They also have a score of 100 here, so I don't know if they're using the same things as well. Here, the American score here looks like maybe an 83 or an 82. I don't know. But, you know, it's kind of blurry. But, you know, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. We're 54th on this list of free versus mostly free or whatever, you know, but or of whatever the free versus not. But our score is an 83, you know, which is tied with these other folks. But we're listed as free according to this chart. So we're not as great as listed with Sweden is. We're not as, you know, Sweden and Finland and Norway, these other countries are listed as being maybe, I guess, a higher freedom score as we have. We have, you know, political rights. Our political rights are lower. You know, our economic rights, our civil liberties are lower. But there is a reason that our political rights and our civil rights are lower than these other countries. Conservatism! Conservatism is the reason why our political and civil liberties are lower. It has nothing to do with what you're trying to say, Josh. It's conservatives taking away voting rights, conservatives taking away abortion rights, conservatives fighting trans rights and gay rights. That's why we have a lower score than all of these other countries. It's because of conservatives. It's not because of liberals. It's not because of the reasons you're stating, Josh. It's because of you guys that we're having issues, that we don't rank as high. Whoo-wee. Again, I don't know. Let's see. Perspectives. And let's see, they have policy recommendations under the Freedom House. Internet freedom, the future of privacy, free expression, and democratic governance rests in decisions made today. Explore Freedom House's recommendations on internet freedom. Policymakers protect privacy and security, strictly regulate use of surveillance tools, protect encryption, strengthen data privacy by using stronger regulations and enacting comprehensive, stronger regulations. They want stronger regulations, not something that Josh Bernstein wants, I'm sure. Democracies should collaborate to create interoperable privacy regimes that comprehensively safeguard user information, also align data flow across borders and jurisdictions. With similar levels of protection, individuals should have control over their information, including right to access, delete, and easily transfer. Companies should be required to limit the collection of consumer data, particularly intimate information such as health, biometric location, disclose plain language how they collect it. I mean, I'm sure conservatives like Josh Bernstein would have a big problem with that because that's government telling business what to do. Gasp. Wait, government telling business what to do. Safeguard free expression, access to information, diverse online environment, maintain access to internet services, digital platforms, circumvent technology, whatever, during elections, protests, and periods of conflict. See, strengthen global internet freedom. Let's see, I'm trying to see if there's anything about, like, bad actors. Ensure fair and transparent content moderation. To ensure content moderation, products that are respectful of users, private companies should prioritize user-free expression to access information, particularly for journalism, discussion of human rights, educational materials, political, social, cultural, religious, and artistic expression. Clearly and completely explain in guidelines and terms of service what speech is not permissible, what aims restrictions serve, how content is assessed for violations, an essential step for... So basically it's saying that companies should be able to say that content is not allowed, but that you should be able to say why it's not allowed and clearly say why it's not allowed. Publish detailed transparency reports on content takedowns, both for initiated by governments and for those undertaken by companies. Transparency reports should also address how machine learning is used to train automated systems that classify, recommend, and prioritize content for human review. Hey, I was talking about that earlier. Human review. I totally agree. Human review. Totally agree with that. I resist government orders. Yeah, there's plenty of... there's plenty of stuff on here of policy record. We can go into that more later. But basically, yeah, the internet freedoms doesn't mean that Josh Bernstein gets to say anything he wants on any internet platform at any time. Because to require a business and the owners of such businesses to allow Josh Bernstein to say whatever they want, whatever he wants at any time, would be a violation of their First Amendment rights. But many conservatives don't understand that. Let's continue on with Josh's diatribe as to how we're not the land of the free because Josh Bernstein can't say what he wants to say. What happened? There we go.
Our rating, a flawed democracy. So, there it is, folks, in a nutshell. Are we really that free?
This is me in a nutshell.
I don't think so. And clearly this data proves it. Now,
clearly it proves it, even though we don't know where it's coming from, and we question, its methodology, and we question why it's said, although I was able to show where I got my methodology from, and my website that I was able to use said that even though we rank maybe lower in number, my site that I quickly found using a very quick internet search shows that America is a free country, and part of the reasons that I was able to ascertain quickly as to why we're maybe lower on the list than these other countries are reasons that conservatives have caused. Civil liberties, political freedoms that have been restricted by conservatives, not by liberals. It's y'all's fault, not our fault. But hey.
What's it going to take to get America back into the top 5?
Rejection of conservatism.
Well, I don't know 100%
I'm not shocked.
The answer to that. But I know it's not President Trump. Not saying that I don't want him to be the nominee and want...
Hey, I agree with him again. It's not President Trump. We agree twice in one video. We don't like the Patriot Act, and Donald Trump will not get us back into the high ratings. Now, he's probably wrong for why he's right, but we agree twice. That'll probably never happen again.
Him to win and run and win and get this country back on track. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying, as one person, President Trump alone is not going to be just the answer. And quite frankly, with the indictment today on these BS charges that
they are not BS charges
put out on him once again, plus New York, you got Georgia, you got all these others. There's another 6 or 7 more coming down the pike.
I wonder why that is. Is maybe it's not that it's a big conspiracy that's out to get him. Maybe he's just that bad of a person that has done that much wrong things that it's all finally starting to fall down on him. Maybe? That wouldn't be apparent to him, though.
I think it'll be a miracle if they even allow him to run. But
shockingly enough, even if he goes to prison before the election starts, he can still run from prison. There has been another person who ran for president from prison before. That's happened before. It can happen again. He could run for president from prison and win from prison if America is stupid enough to do so. We were stupid enough to elect him once. Who knows?
If somehow he does...
P-Dub, 6 or 7. Let's see. We got New York. We've got Georgia. We've got Florida. We've got D.C., the potential of charges in D.C. for the January 6th charges pertaining to the insurrection. We've got the potential charges in New Jersey that could be charged because of the document that he shared with people. I'm sure there's 2 more. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 more. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but it's getting late.
Miraculously run for president in 2024, and even more miraculously, they somehow allow him to win, well, then perhaps, and again, this is a small perhaps, we might be able to save this country and get ourselves back on track. But I will say this, and you're not going to want to hear it. In the next few years, every single American that believes in freedom, liberty, and prosperity and doesn't want to live in tyranny and authoritarianism and totalitarianism and communism and socialism and all the other isms.
All isms. Every single ism. All of them. Even if they conflict with each other. Every single ism combined into one. Like a Voltron of isms. Voltronism.
Guess what? You're going to have to make some sacrifices, okay?
And what sacrifices are those, Josh? I mean, you've said it before on Jeff's show. You've hinted at them before on Jeff's show. But you won't actually say exactly what they are. But we all know what they are. Basically, Josh has previously, as I've interpreted his words, has encouraged, armed insurrection against this country. That's how I've interpreted his words. And if I'm wrong, he's more than welcome to correct me. But, that would require him coming on my show, and he's too cowardly, in my opinion, to do so.
Whether that be personal or those sacrifices forced on you by a tyrannical government.
Forced on you by a tyrannical government. What could those be?
But you will have to make sacrifices. You will also have to do some very in-depth and deep soul-searching as well. And?
I mean, I think they fixed the Kia Soul bug, maybe, but... Oh, wait, that's a different type of soul. Sorry.
You may have to come to a conclusion at...
He paused a little bit too long before to a conclusion. That was kind of weird. Again, leave your kinks to yourself.
Some point, as an American citizen, as a patriot, and as someone who has lived in and loved your freedom.
90
you will have to make a decision.
Sorry, Blog Talk Radio folks. The show's coming to an end. You might not have heard this much, but we're going to go long, so...
And that decision in the next few years, well, could be possibly whether or not there is indeed still a political solution to America's problem.
Whether or not there is a political solution. Well, if there's not a political solution, Josh, what other solution might there be?
60 seconds.
What other political solution, what other solution could you be talking about? I don't know. Maybe you're talking about, I don't know, Bake Off. Is that it? Are you talking about a bake-off, like a grand bake-off, where everyone makes cookies and the person with the best cookies wins, right? Is that it? Probably not.
And, well, we'll have to see what happens in the future. But that ultimate sacrifice?
My sacrifice. I have to listen to Creed. Is that it? That's the sacrifice. You have to listen to Creed all the time, 24/7. At least it's not Nickelback. You have to listen to Creed.
Could be a lot of different things.
It could be a lot of different things, and he's not going to get specific because, you know, he doesn't want to, you know, flat. Yeah, no, 10 seconds, Blog Talk Radio.
Including, yes, your life.
You have to put your life up on the line. Like the game of life, like not Monopoly or Risk, but life. But I thought the game of life was too woke because they've changed it to where you don't become like married and you could just have kids without getting married now. I thought that was a problem amongst conservatives now. What, right? Wasn't that the problem now? Is that you can get married, you don't have to get married now in a game of life? Oh, wait, that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about risking your life. What would you risk your life doing? Not the Bake Off, right? It's some other thing that you want people to do, risking their life. What could that be, Josh?
Those are my thoughts. What are yours?
My thoughts are that you are a crazy conspiracy kook that is dangerous and that is also too cowardly to come on my show because you know that I would own you every step of the way. Because unless you could just try and talk over me, that's why you want me to come on your show, because then you could just talk over me and control the mic and control the volume and control the mute button or whatever. Yes, Josh, bringing a boy. Josh doesn't get specific because he's an idiot. Even a conservative knows it and says it. That's the best way to end it. Even a conservative says, Josh doesn't get specific because he's an idiot. That's the best way to end the video. Thank you so much. If you like this video, like it, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and thank you very much for watching. Have a good day.